Hey everybody, it's Brian Haskins here. I'm going to welcome you to a video that I just put together where I'm going to walk you through exactly how you can close more real estate deals, create bigger profits, and work less using what I call the V.I.C.E wholesaling method. It's a simpler, smarter wholesaling system built around market data, buyer demand, and daily lead flow. I'm going to show you exactly how to make confident offers using my AI-driven system where we can execute this and show you exactly how to find the easiest path to consistent wholesale deals. So if you want more consistent wholesale deals with bigger profits and fewer moving parts, then you're in the right place, because I'm going to share with you the number one reason why most wholesalers never close their first deal, and the ones that do often close that first deal struggle to turn this into a real business where they're generating consistent wholesale deals on a regular basis. And it's not because wholesaling is hard. It's because most wholesalers are taught to build the business backwards. A wholesale deal is not just one isolated skill. It's a sequence of decisions, systems, buyers, leads, offers, and execution all working together to get the end result, which is you having consistent wholesale deals. So if you stick with me throughout the video, I'm going to share with you a much easier way to get started wholesaling and have consistent wholesale deals. So if this feels similar, you probably got started wanting to invest in real estate because you wanted to create a better life for yourself. You probably found out about wholesaling online. You decided to start consuming as much information as possible. Maybe you tried a bunch of strategies. You started to get overwhelmed. You started to invest some time, some money, and you started to feel like you've wasted a lot of that, and you're starting to get burnt out and ready to quit. Is this something that you can relate to? I'm sure if you've been trying this for any amount of time, this is probably something that you can relate to. And the reason why is because this is the path that most wholesalers are on. They have no idea where to start, so they try a million different things. They try things like cold calling, text blasting, direct mail, social media outreach. They're skip tracing, they're buying lists, they're trying all these different things, but really not sure on what to do. So they just try a little bit of everything. But the problem with this is that most wholesalers don't ever really build the right foundation that they need to be successful. That's the reason why all those different strategies work. You try something for a week or two, doesn't go exactly as you hoped, so you move on, you try something else, not giving anything long enough to be able to actually make it work. Well, today I'm going to share with you how we can create a simple foundation for your business. It's only 4 simple steps, and I developed this method a long time ago. If you don't know who I am, if you're new to kind of following me, my name is Brian Haskins. I've been investing in real estate and wholesaling specifically for over 23 years. And what happened is I got my start investing in real estate, rehabbing houses. I built a huge business, and in 2008, the real estate market collapsed, and I basically had nothing to show for it except for a bunch of debt. I had probably 10 to 15 different properties that I had millions of dollars of debt on. I had crews of people that were working for me. I had all this money that I still needed to pay, but nobody was buying the houses that I had fixed up that I put on the market. So I decided that there had to be a much better way for me to be able to pull myself out of all this debt. I had to figure out how to basically make the monthly payments without losing those homes to bankruptcy or foreclosure. So I developed what I call the V.I.C.E wholesaling system. And this is the same method that I was able to pull myself out of millions of dollars in debt, because what I realized is that there were a lot of people that were still buying houses, but they weren't buying the types of houses that I had for sale. So I started to look at it and understand a bit about my market and use that market data to be able to make some really simple decisions. So the V.I.C.E method is really simple. There's 4 parts to it. The first part is what we call validate. I'm going to teach you how to validate your market in 3 simple steps. From there, we're going to install your daily lead generation engine. We have to have leads coming in every single day, but we have to do this in a way to where it's going to be a system that you're going to be able to actually keep up with. It's not going to take too much time. It's not going to be outside of your budget, and we got to make sure they're really high quality leads. So I'm going to share with you exactly how to do that. From there, I'm going to teach you how to convert those leads into monster profit deals, and then I'm going to share with you exactly how we can execute and automate this entire system with the help of AI. So that is the V.I.C.E method that you're going to learn today. Basically what it does is we flip traditional wholesaling on its head. Traditional wholesaling tells you to go out and try to find the deal first. So you spend so much time and so much money going out chasing leads that are not even going to convert into deals. And if they do, most of the time, the problem is the buyers aren't going to be interested in the deals that you found. So you're going out, you're trying to find the deal first. You're making guesses at what the offer should be on that home. You have no idea what the actual value is. You put all this time and energy into it and hope that it pays off. And then at the end, once you get something under contract, you got to start searching for a buyer and hope that you did everything right. So there's so much that is kind of at risk at every single step that if you make one mistake, the deal isn't going to close. And you spend all that time and all that money and all that energy, and you're not getting any deals done. But I'm going to share with you a much easier method. Again, like I call it the V.I.C.E wholesaling method. And this is where we validate the market first. We do something called buyer mapping, which I'm going to show you how to find the best buyers in your market that are buying deals consistently and paying the most for deals. Then I'm going to share with you a method that I've called finding pre-sold properties. These are the actual deals that your market is demanding. These are the most profitable deals in your market. I'm going to show you exactly how to find them. And then I'm going to show you exactly how to use AI to execute all this. So that way you can get this done and operate this business in about 2 hours per day. That's the goal. So what I want to do in this video is I'm going to take you from confusion, like I said earlier in that path where you're trying all these different things. The reason why you're trying those things is because you don't know what the outcome is. You don't know what is the right thing for you. But I do. I've been in this business for 23 years. It's very easy for me to see based on where you're at and where you want to go, the simple path to get there. And the easiest way to do that is going to be what I'm going to share with you today. And the reason why we want to actually start building your business in the right order, creating the foundation and moving forward is because every single step that we take, every single step that I'm going to teach you right now builds on itself. So we need step 1 before we can do step 2. We need step 2 before we can get to step 3. Whereas the problem is most wholesalers start on step 2 or 3 or 4, and the problem is they don't have the information they need, so it makes it extremely difficult. And again, we want to get you clarity so that way you know every single day when you sit down and get to work exactly what you need to do to get results that move the needle. All right, so let's talk about step number 1. So we talked about earlier that step number 1 stands for V, validate your market. So there's 3 things that we're going to do to validate your market. The first thing is we're going to confirm that your market is good for wholesaling. Second thing is we're going to buyer map your market. And the third thing is we're going to locate pre-sold properties in your market. You're going to see exactly what I mean here in a second. So here's the problem that most people take when it comes to picking a real estate market. Number 1, they make the common mistake. They think that if they have multiple real estate markets, they're going to be able to do more deals. That could not be further from the truth. You're never going to outgrow one real estate market. I don't care if you're doing hundreds of deals a month. There are hundreds of deals in every single real estate market that can be done. It may not feel like it because you don't really know how to wholesale the right way, but once you understand what I'm going to teach you, you can absolutely do this in one deal. I have never outgrown one market. I've never seen anybody do it. Most people do it because they think, oh, it's cool to say that I wholesale nationwide or that I'm in all these multiple markets. But what it does, it actually waters down your chances of getting deals in either market because you're splitting your lead generation, you're splitting your time, and again, in return, you're going to get poor results. So here's the thing that we need to consider when it comes to picking real estate markets. I know virtual wholesaling sounds sexy, and it is a cool idea that you can sit on a beach and, with just a laptop, do deals from anywhere. And here's the thing, you can do that in your local market too. I highly suggest that you work in your local market if you're new because it's going to be significantly easier to get deals done. You know the market, you can go look at the properties, and it's going to just be so much easier for you. But again, we have to make sure that your market is good for wholesaling. And we do that with one simple test. Most wholesalers think that they need to look at how long properties are sitting on the real estate market, or they think they need to look at how big their population is or the average price point of their houses. But you know what? None of those things actually matter. There's only one metric that lets me know if your market is good for wholesaling, and that is buyer demand. Is there enough investors in your market actually buying deals? And there's one simple test that I use with every single one of my students in their markets, and that is if there's at least 100 investor-bought properties in the last 6 months, your market is good for wholesaling. Don't make it any more complicated than that. So many people move into this business using emotion, and they look at the popular choice, and they get all this random information online. What I'm going to share with you today is how we actually operate a business, and that is through data. Emotion has no place in business, and you're going to see that right now, and it's probably one of the reasons why most wholesalers are struggling in this business. So if you're trying to pick your market based on, oh, this market sounds good, or someone online mentioned it, or, it is a market nearby where I live, and I hope that the buyers are active, you don't have to go through any of that frustration because we can see real transaction data, real investor activity, real buyer demand, and have that confidence before we ever get started. And again, there's only one thing that we need to look at. Are there at least 100 investor-bought properties within the last 6 months? If there is, that market is good for wholesaling. There is no, oh, maybe there's a better market out there. That is absolutely the wrong idea. We can do wholesaling anywhere when we have the right foundation, which is what I'm going to teach you right now. So that's part one of validating your market. The second thing is probably the most profitable aspect of everything that you're going to learn today is going to come right here in part number two. And that is where I'm going to teach you something called buyer mapping your market. Everything is going to change whenever you understand the concept of buyer mapping. So here's the thing that you need to understand about buyers is that every single real estate market has investors that are buying deals, but not every buyer is the same. They have different goals. They have different buying criteria. They have different repair tolerances and different ceilings that they use whenever they're making offers on deals. And you need to understand this if you want to be successful, because the buyers that you choose to work with are going to dictate your results. The most successful wholesalers are not the investors that understand how to generate leads. It's the investors that understand that choosing the buyers that they work with dictate their results. And literally, this is the most important and most profitable thing that you could ever learn about your wholesaling business. The money is not made when you buy. Someone made that up a long time ago. The money is made in who you choose to sell to. And I'm going to prove that to you here in just a couple of minutes, okay? So the success of your wholesaling business, how much work you have to put in, how much marketing you have to do, how many offers you have to make, all of that is dictated by the buyers that you choose to work with. And 9 times out of 10, every single wholesaler that I talk to is taught to work with the wrong buyers, okay? So not all buyers are created equal. What does that mean? Well, it's really simple. Every single real estate market has 3 types of buyers. Tier 1 buyers. These are the buyers that are buying deals consistently and paying the most for deals. These are the buyers that we want to work with. We also have what's called Tier 2 buyers. These buyers are just fine. They don't buy nearly as often, but they still pay more than other investors. And then you have Tier 3 investors. These are the investors that maybe buy 1 or 2 properties a year and they pay the least for deals. That's 2 criteria. So they have to be able to pay more for deals, and they also have to be able to buy properties consistently. The reason why this matters to us is because when we're wholesaling deals and we're dealing with buyers, we need to know that they're going to be able to buy the properties. They have the capacity to be able to buy the properties from us. We don't build some big list and just hope that we're going to send a deal out and then it fits somebody's criteria. Again, we are taking control over your outcomes, and you're going to learn how to turn this into a consistent business that's going to get you real deals if you follow along. So let me show you a real world example. All right. So this is a $250,000 property. I'm betting that 90% of the people that are watching this video are probably trying to work in a market that has an average price point of about $250,000 to $300,000. So let me share with you why I say that not all buyers are created equal. And again, I want to give you real world examples, real demonstrations, real information. I am not teaching theory. This is going to be what you need to build your business off of. And that's one of the cool things about wholesaling is that all the information that we need to build a successful wholesaling business from the start, we can get and we have access to. You don't have to have lots of experience in wholesaling to be successful. You don't start out small and then build up. Everything that I know about my wholesaling business right now is the same thing that you can learn as a brand new investor when you follow this data first approach. So let's take a look at buyer number 1. So this is probably who 99% of the people watching this video think that they want to sell their deals to. They're looking for the flipper buyer. Okay, so the flipper buyer is going to come in, they're going to fix that house up, and then they're going to put it on the market and try to sell it. Now to do that, they have to have expensive loans. They have to take on a lot of risk. So they need to buy that home at a deep enough discount to make sure that they're going to be okay. Plus, they also need to make every single bit of their profit up front on that deal. So there's a lot hinging on them making the right offer on that house. So to do that and to eliminate risk, they are going to make a very low offer. So let's just say, for example, that buyer, they're going to make you an offer at what they think is the value at about 60% of the value of that home. So let's just say on a we can even use a little bit higher. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt, 65% of ARV. So if we look at right here, a home valued at $250,000, if they make an offer at 65% of that value, so that means that their offer would be $162,500. But they're going to take into account, again, that they need to put all the work into that home to sell it for the most amount of money. So in their mindset, they're looking at that deal and they're saying, I look at this deal and think that it needs the nicest finishes, so I'm going to estimate on the high side when it comes to repairs for this house. So let's just say that that house needs $60,000 in repairs in their eyes. So the most they would be able to pay you for that deal is $102,500 on a $250,000 deal. So that means if you want to make 10 grand, your offer to that seller cannot be any higher than $92,500. This is a real world example of a $250,000 property. Okay. Now, if we go over to buyer number 2, these are more tier 2, tier 3, or tier 2 or tier 1 buyers. These are what we call golden ticket buyers. They are buying deals consistently and paying more for deals than anybody else. When we look at that, what we want to see here is that these buyers typically are paying more for deals because they're doing something different. All right, they maybe are buying that home to keep as a rental property. Well, maybe they're not going to pay somebody to put the best finishes in that house if they just need to get the home rent ready. So every aspect of them evaluating the property is going to be different than buyer number 1. So this is you as a wholesaler, why you need to understand this information, understand who your buyers are, because you could be alienating buyers. If you go in looking at this for every single deal that you try to do, you're going to have a very hard time getting your offer accepted. But if you don't have these types of buyers, you don't have any other choice. So this is the reason why I'm teaching you to use market data to understand what you need to do in your business. So if we look at this particular deal, let's just say that we've got a buyer that wants to buy that home and keep it as a rental property. They are going to make us an offer at, let's just say, 80% of the value of the home minus repairs. But the reason why they're able to do that is because they don't need to make all their profit up front. Yes, they need to have a little bit of equity in the deal, but they're going to make their home over time through things like tax deductions, also things like cash flow. So they're going to be able to make a significantly higher offer on that deal. And let's just say that the repairs are going to be different too, because they look at the property and don't think, well, I need to put the nicest finishes so I can sell it for the highest price. They look at it and say, I just need to get the home rent ready. So this particular buyer, they're willing to pay you $185,000 for that particular deal. Well, that's a significant amount more than what this buyer is willing to pay. So let's just say that we want to double our profit. We want to make $20,000 instead of $10,000 on that deal. We can make an offer at $165,000 if we have a buyer number 2 versus a buyer number 1. So we're able to make an offer at, $72,500 more. Think about this for a sec. How much easier would it be for you to step in and make offers at a significantly higher price point than your competition? You're going to be able to get a significant amount more offers accepted if we're able to offer more for these deals. Now, here's the cool part. I'm going to show you how to find these buyers because they are in every single market. And I know, I can hear you probably thinking right now, they're not in my market. I am going to show you that every single market has different types of buyers, and the buyers you choose to work with are going to dictate how much profit you can make. Again, we're doubling our profit and making an offer at $72,500 more. So you're making almost $75,000 higher offer and making 2 times the price on your deal. This is why I say the money isn't made when you buy the house. The money is made when we choose the right buyer to sell to, because now we can get more offers accepted by doing less marketing, by making less offers, because we're able to make a stronger offer. So this is the reason why buyers are king in our business. It's not about building a buyer's list. It's about identifying the right buyers in our market. All right. So better buyers equals more deals. It also equals more profitable deals. It equals less marketing spend. It also equals less offers that you have to send out. Everything about having better buyers is going to make you significantly more profit. All right. So let's go back now, and I want to share with you a real world example of how we find these buyers and how I know that they're in every single market. And I'm going to share with you a really awesome AI tool that we're going to be able to use to actually see it. So let me go ahead and get out of this screen real quick. So I'm doing this live here. So we're going to go into a tool like PropStream. Let's just say that we want to go into a county like Wake County, North Carolina. I know that this is a popular market for a lot of people. So if we were to come to a market like this, and we can see there's 451,000 properties. If we come in here, and let's just say that we want to find some investor bought property. So we're going to say, let's do residential. We can do single family houses. That's what we want to stick with. Now let's come down here and let's just say that we want non-owner occupied type houses. So that means they own the home, but they don't live in it. All right. It's that simple. And for me, what I like to do is I'm going to pull a very small time frame so we can see the most active buyers recently. So I also go based on corporate buyers. The reason why I do this is because I don't want mom and pop investors that are buying properties in their own name. We want to buy investors that, or we want to look at buyers that are buying properties inside of a company. So we can see there's 24,000. That's way more than what we need for this. We're just going to do, let's just go back 2 months. Let's just go back. Let's see what we have here. Let's just get the sweet spot of about 200 buyers. That's what we're looking for right there. So if I go ahead and select this, now I come in here at prop stream and I'm just going to go save it. Let's just do, I'm just going to create this new list right here so it's easy for us to export. And then let's do another list because I'm going to share with you how we do this. Let's do a crazy market that most people would think you're crazy to get into. Let's do Phoenix. I don't know what Phoenix is. I don't even know how to spell Phoenix. Oenix. I know it's a different county, but let's just say we do Phoenix here. So let's go ahead and pull another list here. So we've got 463 properties during that same time frame. So we use the same filters. Let's go ahead and save that list. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4 for that list. Save that. So I'm going to share with you 2 real world examples right now of markets so you can see exactly what those buyers look like. So now that we've got those lists, let me come over here. I need to export these real quick. Let's go ahead and export this list. And then I'm going to go ahead and export this list here. All right, so now that we've exported that list, I want to share with you, this is the custom AI tool that I've developed that I use with my students. Now, you can't get access to this. This is all, you have to register, pay for it. But again, this is something that I use with my students. And I'm going to show you real world examples of how I take this data and how we use it to get information about our market. So the first tool that we're going to use right here, this is my golden ticket buyer prompt. I'm going to share with you, if we upload this list, if I go ahead and put in, let's do Wake County first. So let's put Wake County in there. And then let's go ahead and upload that list. Bam. How quickly was that? This is amazing. So what I have AI do, so let me show you real quick what this normally would look like. So if we get a list like this from PropStream or whatever provider you want, if we were to open this up, what you're going to see here is that it's just a bunch of data, numbers, spreadsheet. So this is one of the reasons why I love AI. So normally I would come in here and I would have to spend hours going through this spreadsheet. And the things that I want to look at are like, all right, here are the investor buyers, the duplicates. That's part of what I want to look at. Now, other things that I look at is what are these buyers buying and how much are they paying for deals? So I'd have to go through here, spend all this time inside of spreadsheets. But here's the cool thing. I just showed you that we did that in a matter of seconds. Let me show you what it looks like when we get this report from my AI tool. So this AI tool, I uploaded 206 buyers for Wake County, and it told me there's 169 unique buyers, 22 duplicate buyers, and the most amount of times, and again, we're only dealing with 2 months, the most amount of times someone purchased was 7 properties. So it's got the name here of the buyer, how many times they purchased. The cool thing that we have here, this is the average price per square foot that they're paying for deals, and this is the average percent of ARV. So that's going to do that for our top 10 buyers, but then it's also going to give us all of our buyers here that bought multiple properties, and you can see here, it counts how many times they bought, counts the average price per square foot, the average percent paid. So let me share something with you that's extremely important right here, okay? If we know what percentage and what price per square foot these buyers are buying, if they are doing this consistently, like 4 properties in 2 months, 3 properties in 2 months, we can sell them deals for the same amount, most likely, because this is a pattern. So 2 things to keep in mind here is that we can see buyers are all over the place. So let me come down here and show you a little bit about some of these buyers. So again, we have buyers that are buying at 69% of ARV, 58% of ARV, 77% of ARV, but we also have buyers that are buying at 108% of ARV, 91% of ARV, 107%. Same here, 97% of ARV, and they bought 7 properties in the last 2 months. Do you think we could sell them a deal? Absolutely. Now, we do have some outliers, and this could be just a quick little error, but these two buyers here, we would eliminate them. We'd go back to the spreadsheet and figure out why the numbers are so high. But here's the thing. Most wholesalers are trying to sell their deal to this buyer here at 75% of ARV. So you're making your offer at 70%, and then you're trying to sell that and make 5%. Well, I could, to the same buyer, come up here and sell deals to them for 97% of ARV. I could make basically 30% more than you could make on this deal, or I could raise my offer higher because I know who these buyers are. So this is a very early stage of just information, but I want you to see light bulbs should be going off in your head. If we have this kind of information about active buyers in our market that are actively buying deals, this was in the last 2 months in a very popular area, there are buyers in every single market that are willing to pay more for deals. And then you also have lots of buyers that are paying a lot less for deals too. You can see that information right here. But you need this kind of data to operate a wholesaling business. So let's do our second one. So let's do Phoenix. All right, so we'll go back in here and let's upload our list from Phoenix. We're going to pop that in there as well. And then we're going to go ahead and run that tool. Bam, done instantly. Let's go ahead and download that, open it up so we can take a look at Phoenix. So we uploaded 463 buyers in 2 months. We found 370 unique buyers, 53 duplicate buyers. We can see here a big hedge fund, Open Door, they bought 13 properties. So this is their average price per square foot they're paying, the average percentage of ARV. But let's scroll down here. Again, you're going to see buyers all over the place. 63% of ARV, 67%, 58%. This is who most wholesalers are trying to sell deals to. When you try to sell deals to these buyers, your offers have to be lower to sellers to be able to get that property at a deep enough discount. You don't think you could sell to buyers that are willing to pay more, make stronger offers to sellers, secure more profit for yourself, and make it easier for you to do wholesaling. This is how real wholesaling works. Real wholesaling starts with identifying your market, identifying who the buyers are in the market, mapping those buyers out to identify who the best buyers are, understanding what they're buying, what they're paying, what they're willing to pay for your deals, and using that information to set you up to win. This is what you need to understand about how wholesaling works in today's market, all right? So that was the first thing we're going to look at. So let's go back into the presentation here. The next presentation, or the next step in the presentation, is part 3. We're still in step number 1, validate your market. We have 3 other steps. This is amazing. I can't believe that we're able to share this in 2026 and help you guys out with your business because, again, most people are struggling creating this to be so complicated. So part number 3 is let's locate pre-sold properties in your market. So in the last slide, I told you that the single most profitable thing is to learn how to sell your deals to better buyers. This is the best advice I ever got for my business. This has made me more money than anything else that I've ever learned in business. And it's right here, this line. It's easier to sell people more of what they're already buying than it is to sell them what you have. You as a wholesaler right now, I guarantee that you think that you're going out. I guarantee that you as a wholesaler right now think that you're going to go out, you're going to find a deal, and a deal is a deal. You're going to sell it to a buyer, and you're going to be able to put that profit together. But here's the thing. You try to sell somebody something that they don't want, they're going to make you a lower offer. So what you need to understand about this is that it's way easier and way more profitable to sell people more of what they're already buying than it is to sell them what you have. So here's the thing. A deal isn't a deal, just like a buyer is not a buyer. And that's what we need to share with you here in the next step. All right, so let's do this. Let me get out of this screen again. I want to share with you the next thing. So we're going to upload those exact same buyers lists to our AI tool. And we're going to use our second tool. This is what we call market demand. This is how we locate pre-sold properties. And the reason why I call them pre-sold properties is because if we know what investors are buying, if they're buying it consistently, we know that those are the types of buyers that they want to buy. We know that those are pre-sold deals if we can find those properties that are the most profitable. So I'm going to show you how I do that. So I upload that exact same list. We're going to start with Wake County. Let's go ahead and pop that in here. Now this tool is going to do something a little bit different than the last one. The last one told us who our most profitable buyers were. This right here is going to tell us what they're buying. So again, we uploaded the same list of buyers. We have 29 zip codes. And what we see here is that this is our buy box. I'm going to come back to that. But what we can see here is that in this market that there are, what do we say, 29 zip codes. Investors are only buying in the top 5 zip codes. If we were to do all of our marketing, look at all these zip codes down here. Nobody's buying properties in these zip codes. No investors are buying deals here. If you're doing marketing in these areas, you are going to find deals that buyers don't want. All right. The next thing we need to consider is that look at this information right here. It's very clear what these investors are buying in this market. So 32% are buying houses that are 1,000 to 1,500 square feet. 25% are buying houses that are 15 to 2,000 square feet. And then a big chunk are buying 2,500 square foot plus. So that's crucial because that tells us what we're looking for. Now, the next thing that we see here is that they're buying properties built from 1951 to 1990, and then a huge jump from 2001 to 2026. So this tells us this is a really strong rental market. There's probably a lot of new construction going on that investors are buying. They're building houses to keep as rentals, okay? We can see here they're 3-bedroom. 53% are 3-bedroom, and then, we've got 4-bedroom there as well. And then bathrooms, we can see here there are 2 bathrooms. So this right here is our buy box. This is what our investor demand is. We can win if we know that we need to work in these 5 zip codes. We need to know, find properties, this property size, this bedroom, this bathroom, and this year built. So here's the thing. Stop wasting your time and money marketing for deals that are not what your investors want. I guarantee right now, and we're not even to marketing yet, but I guarantee you think that you need to go and pull a big list of this giant area and market to everybody. You're going to waste so much time, so much money for a couple different reasons. But the problem is this right here makes up probably 5 to 10% of your market. Okay? You do not need to market to your entire area if nobody is buying in those areas or those particular properties. It's working smarter, not harder. Okay? So let me share my screen with you again. So here's the thing that we need to consider. Stop marketing to 100% of your market. Most of that effort is going to be wasted. So in that particular instance, and I didn't do Phoenix, we could have done Phoenix too, but just to kind of keep it short, here's the thing. If you don't know what your buyers are buying, you are forced to market for everything. That means that you're wasting money, time, finding deals that your buyers are never going to want. I need you to stop with the old mindset of I need to go out and find deals first, and then if it's a good deal, I'll be able to find a buyer. That is not how wholesaling works. If it is, that's how you're going to make $1,500, or that's how you're going to lose money, or that's how you're going to make these small amounts of profit, because you have to be reactive whenever you're doing that. That's a business built on speculation, a business built on guessing, when we can actually have all this information up front, and we can do it in a matter of just a couple of minutes with the power of AI. This is the reason why we, number one, need to make sure our market is good for wholesale, and number two, buyer map our market, identify the most profitable buyers to sell our deals to. Then from there, reverse engineer what those investors are buying and what they want to buy more of, so we can laser focus in on just the 5 to 10% of the deals that are going to be the most profitable for us in our business. All right? So let me tell you a quick story about one simple change that led to $35,000. All right? So one of my students, Sarah, and her husband, George, they actually tried wholesaling on their own for about 6 months. They bought course after course. They were in a couple different mentorships. They spent a significant amount of money. They tried everything they possibly could for 6 months, and they never closed a deal. They started working with me, and within about a week, we were able to turn things around, install my V.I.C.E system inside of her business, and she was able to get a $35,000 deal done. All right, now that isn't even really the impressive part. She did this while she was actually just birthed a baby. She just had her first baby. It was like a couple of weeks after she had her first kid. And on top of that, her and her husband were moving from, moving from Arizona to Florida, all the way across the country. She was able to get her first deal done, make $35,000, and this was after a bunch of trial and error. And we were able to do that because we were able to understand her market, identify who the buyers are, know what those buyers are willing to pay for those deals. Can you imagine making $35,000 on your very first deal? Most wholesalers would be ecstatic if they made $1,500 on their first deal. You do not have to settle for joint venturing. You do not have to settle for making $5,000 on a wholesale deal, even $10,000 on a wholesale deal. You can make more profit on your deals. Do this as your first deal because you have the exact same information, the same opportunity as anybody that's been in this business for a long amount of time. All right? So let's recap. What do we know just after step one? And again, this is the first step out of 4. We now know if your market is good for wholesaling. We now know who your tier 1 and 2 tier buyers are. Those are the buyers that are going to pay you the most for deals and be ready to buy when you got a deal ready to sell. We know exactly what those buyers want because we saw factual information of the last 2 months of what they purchased, real properties, not going to your local RIA and someone told you, this is what I buy. If you have a deal, I will buy. Those are not real buyers. These are actual investors that we can see bought properties. We're not taking anybody's word for it. We are looking at factual information of what these investors bought. We know exactly what properties are most likely to sell and for the most amount of money. And then we know exactly what we can sell it for without leaving any money on the table so we can make clear decisions about every step of our business before we ever spend a dime on marketing. We haven't spent a single minute chasing a seller deal, and we know all this information. Would this change the way that you approach wholesaling, now knowing that this is the way that wholesalers are doing deals in today's market? This is the reason why most wholesalers are struggling. It's because they are chasing everything up front, not knowing what that outcome is. You're building a business based on speculation. It's got to stop. All right? We have all the information. You need to use it to build your business, okay? And I know it's not your fault. You just didn't know that there was a better way. And that's okay. I didn't either for a long time. This took me years to figure this out. All right? Let's move on. Step number 2. So first step, we validated your market. That was 3 parts. Now, step number 2, we're going to talk about installing your daily lead generation engine. So here's the thing. You need leads every single day, all right? Every single day, we need to make sure that we're generating leads. The problem that most people have is they have no idea what lead generation they need to do. They have no idea what kind of budget they need, and they have no idea how much time it's going to take to actually generate leads. So here's the key when it comes to lead generation. Every single lead generation strategy can work if you have a big enough budget and if you have enough time. What I'm going to share with you today is how to choose aligned strategies that work with the amount of time, the amount of budget that you have. All right. This is the number one reason why most wholesalers fail is they start with lead generation first, but they start with the wrong lead generation strategies for them. Okay. Most wholesalers spend all their time focused on outdated strategies that are expensive, that are time consuming, and that are just less effective in today's market. All right. The old way of generating leads. Build a big list of motivated sellers. Motivated is, kind of the key word there. And that's because you're chasing common motivation. So here's the thing that you need to understand about motivations is that they're just a breadcrumb. They are one indicator that someone maybe would be motivated to sell. But there's so many other things that have to go into making that person ready to sell. So things like tax delinquent, pre-foreclosure, vacant properties, probate, code violations. Here's the thing with those strategies. 90% of the people on those lists do not want to sell their house. I know that's going to be hard. So many new wholesalers think, if I just had a more motivated seller list. There is no such thing as a more motivated seller list, okay? They are just inklings and breadcrumbs to let you know that someone could be motivated, but 90% of the people on those lists want to stay in their house. It's not until they get to the point to where timing matches up with their motivation, that everything lines up to where their motivation is so great that they're ready to sell to you at a discount. So old strategies like cold calling, direct mail, texting, ringless voicemail, door knocking. Again, those strategies, the problem that you're running into is that 90% of your effort is going towards people that are not ready to sell their house right now. So literally, think about this, all right? Let's say that you have 4 hours a day that you spend on your business and you have $1,000 per month that you're budgeting for these strategies. Every single one of those strategies that I just shared with you, take 90% of your time and take 90% of your budget, light it on fire, because that's what you just did. Okay, I'm not saying that they can't work. I'm just saying that most people don't realize that that's the reason why there's such high volume strategies. It's because 90% of your efforts get thrown in the trash. Most wholesalers spend the majority of their time, their energy, and their money chasing people who are never going to sell in the first place. There is no list out there, nothing out there where you're going to be able to find the most motivated sellers. It just doesn't exist. Problem number 2, motivation doesn't equal intent. Again, we talked about this. Motivation is only a small breadcrumb. Someone needs to have motivation. They need to have a timeline. So many things have to add up for them to be able to say, all right, today is the day. So 90% of the people that you reach out to, it's just not going to work. Traditional lead generation is extremely expensive. So let's just take, for example, things like direct mail, cold calling. You have list costs, you have skip tracing costs, you have dialer costs, virtual assistant costs, postage costs. All those things add up very quickly. And for very many new investors, the cost to generate a deal is not something that they actually have the time for or the budget for. It's much higher than what they expected. It could be several $1,000s. In most of the markets that I work with my students, it costs $6,000 to be able to generate a deal with direct mail. It costs about $2,000 to be able to generate a deal through cold calling. And that's if you're doing the cold calling, not outsourcing it. So what we need to understand is that all marketing can work, but you need to understand that it may not necessarily be right for you right now. Everybody's in a different situation. You have a different budget. You have a different amount of time. So we need to make sure that we're choosing strategies that are actually going to be aligned. So here's the fourth problem with traditional marketing, all right? And that is because the time is really brutal. So let's break down cold calling, for example. I am not picking on cold calling. You can do deals cold calling if you understand the metrics behind cold calling and are able to actually do it. But 90% of the people that are watching this video are not going to be able to get a deal from cold calling. So let's just look at the numbers. And these are factual benchmark data that everybody agrees with. It takes 8,000 to 10,000 dials to get one deal from cold calling. It does not matter if you're in a pre-foreclosure list, a tax delinquent list. None of those matters. These are benchmark KPIs, is that it takes 8,000 to 10,000 dials, and that's if you're pretty good on the phone. So 8,000 to 10,000 dials. Let's just say right now that you have 2 hours per day that you can put towards your business for lead generation. Let's say that on average you can make about 20 calls in 2 hours because, again, you're not a professional caller. But let's just say that's the case. If we were going to hit this number, that means that you need a cold call for 320 days before you get a deal. 320 days. I don't know about you, but most people aren't going to make it 2 weeks before they give up. This is the reason why people have expectations, but then whenever they go to implement it, they don't understand why it's not working. So here's what we need to understand is that even if we wanted to outsource that, all right, so that would mean basically 400 dials per day, probably 2 cold callers to be able to hit that point. You have skip tracing, list costs, all those types of things. That's thousands and thousands of dollars every single month. But if you were to do this, let's just say that you were going to make 8,000 to 10,000 calls and not factoring any of your costs, so not factoring your skip tracing costs, your dialing costs, your list costs. If you were just to break this down and you made $5,000 on your deal, okay, and let's hope that you made $5,000 in that deal. If you did this, you would be making $7 an hour if you're trying to cold call. So if you're watching this presentation right now and you think cold calling is right for me, I don't care what it takes, that's fine. It's going to take you this long to probably get a deal. And when everything shakes out without expenses, you're going to be making less than minimum wage, all right? And then if we factor in your list cost, you're looking at hundreds of dollars in list costs. Then you factor in skip tracing costs. You're looking at hundreds of dollars in costs like that. Then you're going to have dialer costs. So you're going to be making way less than $7 an hour. So I don't know about you, but is that why you got started wholesaling? Did you get started wholesaling to grind hours every single day for months and months on end, hoping that one deal finally lands? And then when it does land, you're making less than minimum wage? I don't think that's the reason why you got into wholesaling. Most people got into wholesaling because they wanted to create freedom. They wanted to create opportunity for themselves, income. They wanted to replace that income, take care of their family, do something that separates them from everybody else. They didn't do this to create another exhausting job where you're taken away from your family for a full year before you have to get a deal and you have uncertain results. You have no idea even if that deal is going to be profitable. But look, here's the thing. There's a better way. It's so much easier when you understand the game and we can rig the system in your favor. So here's the thing about successful wholesalers. We don't chase motivated sellers. We don't build lists. We don't chase motivated sellers. We create systems where those leads come to us, all right? So that is something that you need to understand. We create systems where leads come to us. So once we have our foundation set, we understand our market, we know who our buyers are, we can install a lead generation engine that aligns with our budget, our time, and our goals to have leads come to us. So there's 2 real ways that you can do this right now, all right? Here's the thing. There's only 2 strategies that I teach in real estate now. I no longer teach going direct to seller through outdated strategies like cold calling, direct mail. Can you do deals from that? Yes, absolutely. But most wholesalers, that are trying to build up to that 2 to 3 deals per month or even get that first deal don't have the time or the budget to be able to do that with traditional strategies because it's getting harder and harder every single day. Cold calling, texting, there's just so much that goes into that. So here's the thing. If you are an experienced investor and you're looking to get more consistency, do more deals, you have a big budget of a couple $1,000 a month, there is no greater way for you to get consistent deals than through a managed pay-per-click campaign. So what that means basically, not pay-per-lead, but having a company that manages your Google pay-per-click, your Facebook campaigns. I've been doing this for 18 years in my business, and basically what I look at is for every deal that I do, I only need to generate about 15 leads, all right? So those leads come at a cost. Obviously, they're somewhere typically between $160 and $250 depending upon your market, but that is the single best way. But here's the thing. We can create the exact same experience for investors that are brand new, that have a very limited budget, that still want to have leads come to them. So I developed a strategy I've been using in my business for the last couple of years, and I call it shadow listings. And this is perfect for new wholesalers because it's very low cost. And essentially what it is we get off-market property referrals from agents. Now, I know what you're thinking. These are all off-market properties. We're not dealing with anything on market. And if you've ever tried working with agents before, you probably made one of the 3 big mistakes that kills every opportunity for a wholesaler to work with an agent. And I don't deal with that because here's the thing. There's a much easier way to get deals working with agents if we have the right systems installed. And that's exactly what I do with my students. Now, here's the thing. You're going to see why these 2 lead generation strategies work above anything else. It's because they can be done with a limited amount of time. This can be done with a bit more, budget, but this can be done with basically no budget. And I'll share with you exactly how we do that. So let's talk about the shadow listing strategy. So it's off-market property referrals from agents. Agents get paid through commission. We pay agents commissions on every single one of our deals. We don't have to worry about seller lists. We don't have to worry about skip tracing. We don't have to worry about cold calling. We don't have a massive marketing budget. We just have simple, focused outreach every single day. And we're able to get deals. And I'll break the numbers down for you here in a second. But here's why this works, okay? Agents essentially have people come to them that say, I want to sell my house. I am ready to sell my house. Those are the type of people that we want to work with. Again, same with what we call inbound leads or managed pay-per-click campaigns. Those are people that said, I am ready to sell my house. This is how successful wholesalers are generating leads and deals in today's market. So let's talk about the numbers here, okay? So why do shadow listings work so well? Well, the numbers are really simple. 90% of homes are sold with an agent. You cannot argue that, okay? So 10% of homes are sold off market. So here's the thing about that 10% that's sold off market. 6% of those are sold for sale by owner, all right? So on Zillow. And then 4% of those are sold to investors. So if you're trying to build a list of motivated sellers and you're reaching out to them, you're competing with only 4% of homes that are sold to those agents or to those investors. But here's the other thing. 90% of the people that you're reaching out to don't want to sell. And on top of that, you are 90% of your market, most likely, you're targeting without even knowing if there's going to be buyers there. You're stacking so many invisible roadblocks in your path that you don't even understand. This is the reason why it takes 8,000 to 10,000 dials to put a deal together through cold calling. It's not because cold calling is bad. It's just because, again, 90% of the people that you reach out to don't even want to sell. And then you're competing with 4% of homes that are sold off market. So when we deal with this, 90% of homes are sold off market through agents. So we're going to the largest pool of opportunities, and we're able to build relationships with these agents. And these agents want to work with us. So we're not dealing with cold lists. You're not dealing with rejection. You're not trying to perfect some script or anything like that. We're going to be able to get the best deals when we work with the right system, which is what we call the shadow listing strategy. So let's break these numbers down here real quick. So again, nothing wrong with cold calling. If you decide that's the grind that you want to deal with, you're looking at 8,000 to 10,000 dials. You get a 3 to 5% contact rate. So that means 1,000 dials, you're only going to talk to 30 to 50 people. Less than 10% of those 3 to 5% that you actually talk to are open to hearing an offer. That's why I said 90%, even probably more than 90%, do not want to sell their house. You have skip tracing costs, list costs, dialer costs, and if you do this on your own, it's going to take you 320 days to get your first deal. With shadow listing, significantly different because we are reaching out to warm agents, and we're only reaching out to a very specific agent that I call active agents. They fit a very specific criteria. So here's the deal. These are not people, again, because the numbers matter. The majority of agents never do a deal. We only work with agents that have multiple active listings. So we get an 80% contact rate. So 8 out of the 10 people that we reach out to, we talk to, they want to work with us. It's crazy. 30% of the people that we reach send us a lead right on the spot, and it takes about 40 of those conversations to convert into a deal. There's no skip tracing costs. There's no dialer costs. There's none of that. It only takes about 7 to 10 outreaches per day to get one deal per month. So would you rather work 320 days, have rejection, and not get a deal? Or would you rather get one deal in a day? Would you rather do 400 dials per day, which is what this breaks down to get one deal per month? Or would you rather make 7 to 10 per day? Again, it has very little to do with what you want. This is what most people can actually do. Most people that are watching this video have a limited amount of time they can put towards their business. They can factor in 7 to 10 outreaches per day. And again, very little cost, if any cost, other than getting, like PropStream or some kind of thing to be able to pull our list. So this is the reason why when we make smart decisions, we get better outcomes. This is the reason why it's helpful to have someone working with you that's been doing this for 23 years. Everything is clear for me because, again, I'm doing this every single day, so the results are significantly easier. Now, let me just share with you a couple of quick stories about how quickly deals can happen when you have the right aligned strategy. So again, every lead generation strategy can work, but if you choose the wrong one, that's the reason why you're failing and why everything feels so complicated. When we are in alignment with understanding what it takes to put deals together, deals happen. So Joyce, she right here spoke with a buyer, got her contract coming out. She said she had all the pieces. She just didn't know how to put them together. She loves my system. She was able to get her first contract within less than a week of being able to work with me using the shadow listing strategy. Another guy here, Matthew. So Matthew came in. He was very skeptical about wholesaling. He was brand new. He bought actually into a couple different mentorships, a couple different courses, trainings, and he was trying them all and kind of telling me that he was just implementing my system. And I was wondering what was kind of taking him a little while to kind of put deals together. And he basically said, look, I tried a bunch of different stuff. Mine was the only one that actually got him a deal. And he wishes he would have done it a lot sooner because that was the one that got him. He made a little over 10 grand on that particular deal. So here's the thing. When you have the right aligned strategy, you're going to be able to get results. So again, it's about understanding how to structure your business in a way where we're setting you up to win. So let's talk about step number 3. So step number 1 was validate your market. Step number 2 was install your lead generation engine. Step 3 is how do we convert those leads into deals? Again, this is a problem for most people because most wholesalers that come into the business, they think that they need to learn sales, they need to learn negotiations, they need to learn these rigid frameworks or scripts that they have to get perfect or nobody's going to sell them their house. Look, you don't need to do any of that stuff. Here's the thing. When we're doing the right systems, when we're doing the right lead generation strategies and using the right systems, we're just sorting opportunities. Like I said earlier, we're talking to people that want to work with us. It only takes about 1 in 40 leads or opportunities to turn into a deal. If you're using shadow listing, it's way less if you're doing pay-per-click. But here's the thing. We're not begging people to work with us. We're not hard closing people to work with us. We're reviewing opportunities, deciding which ones fit for our market and our buyers, and we are turning these into monster profits. So we don't have to lowball sellers. We don't have to hard close people. We don't have to convince somebody to work with us. We're just sorting opportunities, and that's what I'm going to share with you exactly how we do that here in a little bit. So again, we don't need fancy scripts. We don't need sales pitches to force deals. We need confidence, speed, and clarity. And I'm going to share with you exactly how we do that with another AI tool here in just a second. So the old way of evaluating deals. So let's say we get these leads that come in. What most people would do is they would get that lead. They would then say, okay, let me call you back. They sit down on their computer. They go and they start pulling comps. They start doing underwriting on this deal. Before you know it, especially for new investors, you're a half an hour in, you're an hour in, you're 2 hours in, and it turns out that the numbers weren't even right on that deal. So what happens is, let's say you do 2 or 3 of those a day, every bit of your day now goes to evaluating properties. So you're not able to do your outreach anymore. So this is the reason why wholesalers get stuck in these loops and these roller coasters, and they have things going good, and then if that deal doesn't close, you're starting back over from scratch again. So here's the thing. Most people spend so much time because they don't have the systems in place to be able to know what to do. So what I'm going to share with you right now is how we can get instant deals evaluated with the help of AI. So we can do this while we're on the phone with agents, while we're on the phone with sellers. So you're still on the phone. We're able to use the V.I.C.E system to be able to quickly understand if we have a good deal, what the profit potential is, how likely our buyers are going to be to buy that property, and then what most likely our profit would be if we sell to those particular buyers. So let me show you exactly what that looks like here in just a second. I'm going to share with you my AI tool. All right, so let's do it. Let me show you 2 steps in this. All right, let me show you. So here's our AI lab. So I'm not even showing you all of the AI tools, but let me show you real quickly our Deal Analyzer Pro. So let's just put in here, let me go in and find one of our deals that we were looking at. Let's look at this particular property right here. So let's say that we got this lead that came in. We can plug this lead right into our analyzer, and it's going to ask a couple of questions. What's the address? Do we have any photos? I don't have any photos, so they're going to go out and find photos for me. Let's make our offer at 80% of ARV. And then, let's see, it needs 15K in repairs. I want to make 15K in profits. So if we plug this into my AI tool, it's going to go out and it's linked to all this information. And it's going to run a full analysis for us. It's going to tell us the price per square foot. It's going to tell us the ARV of the home. It's going to give us a significant amount of comps. So right here, it pulled 15 comps. So it gave you the address, told you what the comp is, the sale price, when it sold, price per square foot, the distance, and if we scroll over, it's going to give you a bunch more information about that house. So literally, we can compare and see where we're at. 15 comps, it's going to say this is the ARV of that particular house. We can see right here, it pulls up the square footage. It's going to give us a range, low range, high range, so we can understand it. So we can see the ARV they think is about $350,000. We can see here repair costs. If we entered in repair costs, we could factor that in. And then based on what we told it, 80% of ARV and a $15,000 profit, it tells you exactly what you should offer on that deal. So if we're sorting leads, we have a lead comes in, if we're in line with what this particular seller wants or what this particular agent wants, we know how closely we are to be able to make that deal work. It's going to also evaluate that property for us based on a rental property, based on a rehab, depending upon who our buyer we're going to sell that deal to. It's going to give us all this information that we can look at while we're on the phone with the seller. I don't know about you, but in the past, it's taken me 30 minutes, an hour to comp properties because, again, it's time. You want to make sure you do it right. And even then, you may not necessarily feel super confident, but we have the power of AI that's pulling factual data from your market, sold property data, to be able to give us accurate information. And it's going to be able to do this in a matter of moments so we can see if we're in line or close to that particular buyer. All right. So now I want to share with you, hands down, my absolute favorite tool. And this is what we call Find My Buyer AI Agent. This right here is going to help you if we think we're aligned with that particular deal, and we want to take it to the next step. Let's say we want to see how much potential profit we have on that deal, or who our potential buyer would be for that particular property, or if we even have buyers for that particular area or that particular price point. So we can play around with this to really make sure that we are making offers that can get accepted, to be able to beat out our competition, hopefully, but still have enough meat on the bone to be able to sell our deal to our buyers. And we can do all this in a matter of a couple of moments. So let me show you exactly what that looks like. And I hope I'm not getting ahead of myself in the slides. I think this is the next step here. But again, let's go in here and upload our list of buyers. We'll do that same Maricopa County. And then once we get that uploaded, hit next. It's going to ask us, what's the address? Let's go ahead and paste that same address in there. And then it's going to look that address up for us. And it's going to ask us a little bit more information. All right, so let's just say that we have another contract for $287,500. So it's going to ask us to review that information. So yep, all good. Now it's going to do a full-blown report. That was instantaneous. Okay, that's what I love about this. It's amazing how awesome we're able to get this information with the power of AI. So here's what we have here. We have 463 total records that I uploaded. We can see here that we have it under contract for $287,500, which is our price per square foot of $203.04. And again, we can use this as a tool to kind of play around with this. This doesn't even necessarily have to be our offer. So we can say right now that we have this at 89% of ARV. So if we don't have a lot of buyers that this is a good fit for, well, we need to make a lower offer on this deal. But I break this down into multiple different sections here, and you're going to see why here in a little bit. So first thing we have here, this is our first 10 buyer matches. So we have 143 buyers on this list that we think this is a really good deal for. And then we have 108 buyers on this list that we think this is a good fit for, okay? So it tells us right here, based on a really easy green, yellow, red, if it's a good fit, and then it gives us a rating. So right here is a 5-star rating for this particular buyer. So they think this is a 6.2 score. They bought 3 deals in this short time frame, so a 2-month time frame, and they're buying this properties at 99% of ARV. So on this particular deal, most likely they would make us an offer at $402,824. Now again, it's not 100%, but this gives us real insight that most wholesalers never have. And you don't have to have all these expensive softwares and tools to be able to get this information. So here's the next thing we have down here. Full deal economics. So here's a really cool thing. We can see here what these buyers are paying for ARV, what we have it under contract for. We have our price per square foot difference, and then we have our percent of ARV difference. So if we look at right here, we can see that this would be a 10% difference, 14% difference, 28% difference. So this really helps us understand who we could sell to it for, what our numbers should be, what our potential profit could be. So we have a significant amount of opportunity with a lot of investors that we could sell that deal to. And then again, it breaks down even more. This is the buyer preferences. Do we have it aligned with what our particular property is? And then we have a full breakdown of all the different buyers in that list that we uploaded. So this is the power of data. This is the power of AI. This is how successful wholesalers operate their business. We move away from the idea of guessing. We move away from the idea of building a business on speculation. So if you're out chasing deals, you're making lowball offers to those sellers once you find that deal because you think you need to sell to a low buyer, and then you hope that you did everything right and you might be able to make $3,000 or $5,000 on that deal. Imagine that we identified the buyers that we most likely think are going to be the most profitable buyers that are buying deals consistently and paying the most. We looked at exactly what those investors bought. So what kinds of properties they bought is most likely what they want to buy more of, because again, investors buy more of what they're already profitable with. It's easier to sell them what they're already buying than it is to sell them what you have. Always remember that. The single greatest advice I ever learned in my business. So from there, we're making offers based on what those buyers are actually paying for deals and what our profit is. So that way, when we're selling these deals, we don't leave any money on the table. So again, awesome AI tool. And again, I'm only sharing with you a couple different tools. There's 8 tools that we use with my students. All right, so evaluate deals in real time, make offers with more confidence. So not because you're guessing better, but because you have real factual data that we're using. So when you know the buyer demand, what deals are sell for, the deal fits or not, making offers becomes less emotional, less scary, and you're doing it in a much more strategic way. And that's what I'm trying to give you is the power of clarity, all right? And that's really key. So we want to sell to the right buyer for the maximum amount of profit. Don't leave any money on the table. That's the difference in you as a brand new wholesaler making $10, $15, $20, $30, $40,000 on your deal versus barely squeaking a profit out or thinking you have to JV and split, $500 to be able to put your first deal together just to get experience. You don't need that. You need market information and data. So again, the goal is not just to find any buyer. The goal is to sell to the buyer that's going to pay you the most because it fits what they're already buying. Again, we're simply just making the business easier for you using the facts and data that we already have. And that's what's key. All right. So let's talk a little about what we've built so far, because we've gone through 3 steps. All right. So why does this sequence matter? We validated the market. We know that if we find a good deal in that market, we're going to be able to sell buyers because we have good buyers in the market. We've buyer mapped our market. We have our tier 1 and our tier 2 buyers. We know exactly what those investors are paying for active deals. We reverse engineered to figure out exactly what our most profitable deals would be. Those are our pre-sold properties. We've installed a simpler daily lead generation engine, something that you can actually do with a limited amount of time and a limited amount of budget. We used AI to evaluate our deals instantly, being able to make faster decisions with confidence. We used AI to be able to get more offers accepted and sell our deals fast without leaving any money on the table. So I don't know what you were expecting when you first watched this training, but I hope that there's a lot of kind of light bulb moments kind of going off for you in your business. You do not have to struggle. You do not have to try a bunch of different ways to figure out what's going to work for you. There is an easier way, and this is it. All right, so here's the thing. Let's talk about step number 4, because AI plays a huge chunk in my business. I've developed what I call the AI engine. That's the brain that runs my business. But here's the thing. AI is the future. But I can't tell you how many hundreds of investors I talk to every single month that come in that are using AI wrong. They're spending so much time trying to build these systems that are never going to work because AI can't go behind third-party paywalls and create all this stuff. You have to feed data into AI to make it work for wholesaling. Wholesalers are trying to use it to automate broken systems. If I could just get it to follow up with my leads, if I could just get it to send text messages for me. Automating broken systems doesn't fix your business. It just accelerates everything and makes it easier to kind of break stuff. So again, we need to have the right foundation, choose the right aligned systems that are actually going to work for you. So let me see what the next slide is. Okay, so AI is not the business, it's the accelerator. So this is important, okay? Most people use AI to, again, update, automate broken systems that are outdated, blast more sellers, write generic scripts, move faster without a strategy. So what we need it for is actually analyzing real data, evaluating deals instantly, guiding your offers, and then identifying the most profitable deals and the most profitable buyers that we're going to sell to. So think about it like this. The system creates the insights of the data, the information that we need, and then we layer it in and AI creates the speed. So that's why the V.I.C.E Foundation really has to come first. We have to have all the buyer information and all that data before we ever consider AI, because without that, you're not going to have the data to be able to make AI profitable and successful for yourself. All right, so let's do a quick little tour of the AI engine. Let me show you what that looks like here real quick. So again, this is ever changing. I'm always adding stuff inside here. But let me show you what the tools are that we use. So we use this tool first, which is our golden ticket buyer tool. This is what helps us identify what the investors are paying for deals. Our market demand tool, this shows us exactly what those investors are buying. So what neighborhoods are they buying in, what zip codes are they buying in, bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, price points. So that way we can understand the most profitable deals in our market. This AI agent here helps us find deals. We didn't go through that one, but I'll share with that another one. This one we use to analyze our deals. So this is our Instant Deal Analyzer Pro. Amazing, amazing tool. This right here generates contracts. So whether you're using letter of intents, purchase contracts, sales contracts, assignment contracts, this does all your contract generation for you. This here was the buyer AI tool that I used that I showed you how to find the most profitable buyers for your deals. We use this to do instant dispositions. We know exactly who we should sell it for without leaving any money on the table. Another one of my absolute favorite AI agents right here is my conversation coach. So what's cool about this is if you're ever nervous to actually implement the system and you don't want to talk to sellers because you don't know what they're going to say, you don't want to talk to agents because you don't know what they're going to say, or what if they say something that's going to screw you up. You can put your information right here and it's going to tell you exactly what to say. What to ask them, what questions, what the right order is. This is trained on 23 years of my experience. You're never going to be stuck not knowing what to do or what to say ever again. So again, I add agents to this all the time. There's a ton of really awesome stuff that we use this for, but that is a tour of kind of how I use AI in my business. All right, so let's take a look at this real quick. So this right here, when you pair the right systems with clarity and provide tools that gain you momentum, deals are so much easier. And I'll share with you a couple examples here. So one of my students, Quan. So one of the cool things about Quan was that she had the drive to make this work. She was trying so hard, but there were some things that were making it difficult for her to get deals. One of the first things that was very difficult for her to get her first deal done was that she worked a full-time job, and she had a son that was basically traveling on a football league, and she basically had to travel with him, sit in the stands, watch him play football. So she was trying to do cold call, and it took her 6 months, 8 months. She still wasn't getting any results, but she was not giving up. She was making phone calls. But again, problem was she wanted to make money now. She didn't have time to wait to be able to get a deal through cold calling. So we switched her over to the shadow listing strategy. We were able to get her first $18,500 deal. Her second deal is already under contract. And here's the thing. She was able to do this because it worked with her busy schedule. She only had to make 7 to 10 active agent outreaches per day versus the 400 that she'd have to make with cold calling. And Cam here did $18,000 in his first deal. This was after trying a ton of different stuff. He was one of those people that was trying all these different methods, was in multiple markets, and could not make it work. He was able to get his first deal done, $18,000. Second deal set to close in 2 weeks. So this is the power of having the right system. So wholesaling should not feel this complicated. So if you're thinking right now that, look, everyone's telling me it's this easy, the problem is they tell you that because they want to sell you on a system that is not necessarily going to be the reality. They're telling you that you can do this without you understanding the behind the scenes. When I work with somebody, I make sure that we're choosing aligned strategies that actually work with their schedule. If you're a busy mom or somebody that is working a full-time job, you're not going to be able to do a lot of the same stuff that somebody that is doing this full-time is going to do. So you shouldn't have to go through all of the trial and error that you have to go through until you have the right system. And that's because, again, you don't know that there's a much easier pathway. So you shouldn't need 14 different strategies, all these different creative finances, and novations to be able to make stronger offers. You just need to have better information about your markets. You don't need multiple markets. You don't need hours of cold calling every day. You don't need all these complicated scripts, creative financing to be able to hard close people on deals. And you should not be guessing your way through every deal. Again, the traditional wholesaling path sets you up for failure because it's based on speculation. They tell you, go out and find any lead you can. Once you get it under contract, then start finding a buyer for that deal. You don't have any information to be able to do that. So we want to provide a much easier path for you. And again, you just saw me demonstrate it. I don't teach theory. I showed you how in a brand new market I moved into, we were able to pull a list of buyers, know that there were tier 1 buyers in that market. We reverse engineered what those buyers were buying, built out a buy box. We then looked at mapping out a lead generation strategy that aligns with a simple 2-hour per day system that we could do. I showed you how AI analyzes our deals, shows us who to sell those deals to for the most amount of profit, giving you the confidence and showing you what it takes to actually operate a successful wholesaling business in today's market. And we can do that with the help of AI and the right systems and the right data about our market. So at this point, we've been going on for a little over an hour now, so I want to kind of wrap things up here. You have 2 options, okay? One option is you can continue on the current path that you're on. So again, going back to that kind of idea, that concept that you're trying all these different things, hoping that something is going to stick because you don't know what the outcomes are. I know what the outcomes are because I've been doing this a long time. I know what it takes to do deals through certain strategies, so I can help create a better plan for you. So you don't need to jump from strategy to strategy, using the same tired list as everybody else, working hours and hours every day, time away from your family, time after your job, on your weekends, and trying to spend months or years in trial and error to try to make this work. Or the other option is, for a very limited amount of people, I'm going to offer the opportunity to actually build this system with me. Now, this is not another training course. This is not videos or more information. This is actually working directly with me to install this system and build this business inside of your own market. So what we do is we validate your market together with guidance, map out your buyers, make sure that we've got those tier 1 buyers identified, install the right lead generation system inside your business, and then work with me to implement and build this, and I'll be there to kind of guide you along the way. Now, I can only do this with a limited amount of people because it is so hands-on, but I've developed what I call the Momentum Accelerator. And this is my implementation program for installing the V.I.C.E system inside your business. Now, again, this is not just another course or training. It's not more information because you don't need more confusion. You need a clear plan. So we sit down together. We actually create a plan. You know exactly what it's going to take to be able to get results from that plan. And then we build everything based on the V.I.C.E system and the framework that we talked about earlier. So again, you don't need more information. We need the right plan implemented in the right order and someone to guide you as you go through. So when I set this system up with you, I work together with you for a pretty long amount of time to be able to make sure that you're converting leads into deals, helping you install these systems, dial in the process. Because again, most wholesalers are just trying to piece together random information from YouTube, social media, and all these other people that are teaching different approaches. And it's not to say that those approaches don't work. They might for the right person in the right scenario, but for someone that has a limited amount of time, a limited amount of budget, that is looking to kind of scale to that 2 to 3 deals a month, that needs the help and the foundation, a lot of those systems aren't going to necessarily be the right fit for you. So let's take a look at this. I know there's a lot going on here with this, but basically my goal here is to, within about 90 days, build you a $15,000 to $30,000 per month wholesaling business, working just 2 to 3 hours a day with the help of AI. So we do this through a couple different phases. So the first phase is that install that we talked about earlier. So get crystal clear on your plan. We want to know exactly what you need to do to hit your goals, where you're at, where you want to go, and what that pathway looks like. That's going to be crucial for you. From there, we build out your foundation. So we go through, we essentially pull a list of all your investor buyers. We do all the buyer mapping. We do all your pre-sold properties. We set everything up so that we've got all the data and all the systems so that way you can access them at any time. And then we install your lead generation system inside your business, whether it's shadow listings or our inbound PPC. And then from there, we install the AI engine. So those 8 AI tools that we talked about earlier, right here, you're going to get access to all those to use. So you're going to be able to have buyer mapping for your business, your market analyzer all the time, know who the best buyers are in your market, exactly what they're buying, analyze all your deals, generate all your contracts, work with you anytime you have any questions and you're talking to sellers, or AI can go through and help you working with agents, anything like that. You're going to get access to all that stuff. Once we launch that, we actually do this together through Zoom in an afternoon. So it takes an afternoon for us to sit down, build this out together. The next phase is we actually launch the business. So we're generating those leads, converting those leads into actual contracts, refining your systems and your processes. So within the first 90 days, we're trying to set you up to have a consistent $15,000 to $30,000 per month wholesaling business. And then from there, we're going to launch into phase 3, which is scaling your business, optimizing your systems for deal flow, putting together what it takes for you to get to that next level. So again, you've got full access to me, you've got all the trainings, but more importantly, we build everything out together. You get access to all the frameworks, the systems we install right in your business. I'm working side by side with you to implement this and make sure that you're actually generating those leads and converting those into deals. So if you want to get more information on this, there's going to be some information you're going to see right below this video, probably a link you can click on, answer a couple of questions, and then I'll send you over the details for Momentum. I've got a full breakdown of what's included, the cost, what your commitment is, your time commitment, your investment, all that kind of stuff like that. But here's the thing, by the time we're done building the Momentum install in your business, you're going to have something that is going to set you up for success. It's built around your goals and what you can actually do. I'm not going to build this around you not being able to actually implement the system. So what we're trying to create is that freedom that you're looking for. We don't want to create another business for yourself. We're not creating that grind, not a gamble, a pile of just random tactics. This is a clear system built around your market, your buyers, a simple lead generation system that you can actually do, and then execute all of it with AI. And that's going to be the key here, is that we want to make sure that we're creating a system that you can actually do. So it doesn't matter if you're brand new. I can share with you exactly how we get all this information and this data, even if you've never done a deal, or if you're a wholesaler that's done maybe 1 or 2 deals and you're looking for more deals, more consistency, this is going to be perfect for you. Or if you're an experienced investor that's looking to kind of scale that business, secure more profit, not necessarily do more deals, and you want to do that without adding more work to your plate, Momentum Accelerator is going to be perfect for you. So what you're going to notice, like I said, is right below this video, there is going to be a link to where you can just answer a couple of questions. When you click on that link, it's just going to find out a little bit more about you, and then I'll send you all of the Momentum details over. It's going to be a Google Doc that you're going to be able to read through, and it'll go over all the pricing, all the information, and stuff like that. But what we need to understand is that this is not for everybody, okay? This is not for you if you're looking for just a magic done-for-you button. That is not what AI is. That is not what I can do for you. We actually have to be able to have the right systems and the right things in place to be able to generate that consistent deal flow. So there's a clear path built around your market, your buyers, and your business, with me working alongside you to kind of implement that. So go ahead, like I said, below this, there's going to be either a button or a link or something that you click on, ask a couple of quick questions. Once you fill that out, you'll get emails and get all the details for Momentum Accelerator. If the Momentum Accelerator is right for you, all you have to do is reach out to me here in school or through email or whatever you want to do. Let me know. I'm in. And as long as I've got an open spot, I'd love to be able to install this and help you inside your business. It's really simple. There's a couple of small things that you'll do once we get started. And then we're going to go ahead and do your full build out call. And then I'm going to be working with you to implement the business, make sure that we're converting those leads into deals and installing that full V.I.C.E system into your business. I know we've covered a lot. We've gone through a lot of it kind of quickly, but we did this in about an hour and 20 minutes. So I first of all want to thank you so much for sticking with me here. I really hope that this made the process a lot more clear for you and an understanding of what your next steps are. Again, you can continue on the path that you're on right now, or if you want to work directly with me to install this, click right below the video. You'll get direct access to all the momentum details, and if it is the right fit for you, I'd love to be able to work with you, and I look forward to seeing you inside the Momentum Accelerator.